which were affected on 1st July include the 1% on mobile money transactions and the 200 shillings on over-the-top taxes on over-the-top services tax by telecom companies, of course. And the president did, instruct that the mobile money tax should be slashed to 0.5, excluding deposits, but also better ways of soliciting for the OTT tax should be found. James Bazira, the Executive Director, Water Governance Institute, and also a member of the Tax Justice Alliance, joins us tonight. Welcome.
Correction, I'm Henry Bazira.
Or Henry Bazira?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for that correction. Now, let's start at the point of, understanding these taxes. What do you make of the way the amendment was conducted?
I think it was rushed, and it was not based on some good information, and the spirit of that decision is questionable, because if you look at the intention and the argument that is being presented, the argument of collecting more tax and expanding the tax base, it does not really hold so much water. Because if the agenda is indeed to expand the tax base and increase the tax collection, there are many other avenues in which tax could be increased and expanded. So my personal opinion, and this is my personal opinion, is that this is intended just to curtail the conversations that are happening on social media, and probably you all know that there's been a negative story that has been going on about the regime in place. And so it's an attempt to reduce that conversation that is happening within the masses.
If we move on to the mobile money tax, well, we have seen the uproar, and of course the impact has been felt both by the telecom companies and, the people who use the service. Which better way do you think, should have been probably solicited for this tax? And also, the kind of tax, placed on mobile money puts the telecoms in a hard place, because in any way, even if they decide to slash it to 0.5, the people will still feel the impact of the 0.5. So, in your opinion, what do you think the telecom companies are feeling right now, and are they, comfortable with the kind of tax?
Listening to your tone, I get the impression that you are in favor of the tax staying in place. And I'll tell you for a fact that as it is in the current act, first of all, it defies all the principles of fair taxation. It goes against all those principles of fair taxation. And as far as I'm concerned, it should not have been there in the first place. Okay? Because already excise duty is being charged on the procurement, or the purchase of the airtime cards or the airtime that you buy. And so if you go to charge the over-the-top services, you're actually charging another tax, on the same amount of money. And so it becomes a double taxation. Now, when you add the charges that you are making on deposits and then withdraw and sending, remember that some of that money that we deposit on our phones, we actually use it to buy data. We also use it to make the phone calls. We also use it to send. So you are actually having a multiple taxation of the same amount of money, which violates the principles of fair taxation. And if the intention is indeed to expand the tax base, one, I'll give you some proposals. You could expand the tax base by, first of all, looking at the tax exemptions that we have been giving to many companies that are in this country. We are losing quite a lot of money in tax exemptions. Tax exemptions have been always given out without clear evidence to justify why they should be there. So that's an area where you need to expand the tax base. You have a border community that are making huge amounts of money that are not contributing to the tax base. At one point we proposed that even they pay just 5,000 shillings a year, and that was thrown out. That proposal has never seen the light of day. So the idea was that we need to bring as many people into paying tax. We propose that some of these traders that are in the places that are like those places down there could actually be formalized so they can be brought into the tax bracket. Now, so this brings into question why this tax was rushed up in the manner in which it was done, and it creates a lot of doubt. And the leadership that we are getting is also sending mixed signals. Yeah, you come up with the 1%, then you say it was signed in error. Surely, I have a document here, which is actually a press statement of our alliance. If there was a page that had an error, yeah, even with the signature of the chairperson, if there was a page with an error, I would just go into that page, delete either with a pen, put a signature to confirm who did the deletion, or completely remove the page and replace it with the correct page, so that the signatured page remains in the document to make it authentic. So that was not done. But instead, the message that we received was this was done in error because we're in a hurry to have the other provisions of the document or the act ratified or implemented. So there was misinformation and coordinated information that is coming from the leadership.
At the point of misinformation, why do you think the government, agrees to be misinformed? Or in this case, who is misinforming the government?
No, I think they did not anticipate this uproar from the citizens. And so when it came up, they started running around trying to correct the error that they had committed. And so for me, from the start, I'm proposing that once the members of parliament sit next Monday, they scrap the just thing. The alternative is, let's increase the excise duty on the airtime that we're already buying, because we're already paying a tax at the time when you buy airtime or the scratch card, right? And so you also need to do that increment based on an analysis of the impact of the increase on the excise duty on the airtime card, yeah, to see what impact it would have on the people who are buying the airtime and even the companies which are investing in this area. Because already, I'll give you an example. I've just been reading your vision to be one of the TVs that is most viewed. Now, the hope was, I imagine that the hope was for NTV to be viewed even on smartphones. Yeah. But now, I want to watch you on a smartphone. Those who don't have TV screens can no longer watch you on a smartphone. Right? So already your vision is undermined by a tax that was not informed with empirical evidence. So some evidence to give them confidence that it would not harm. The other thing is, it's regressive. You're putting 200 flat tax and assuming that everybody is in the same income bracket. So a poor person will pay the 200 shillings, and a rich person will also pay the 200 shillings. The guy who has the money won't feel the pinch. The guy who doesn't have the money will feel the pinch. And so the guy who doesn't have money will not be bothered about getting in. So this mission that we had as government of financial inclusion, because you all know that mobile services have actually brought in people who had no way of keeping money, because they could not access bank accounts, and therefore they were keeping their monies on the phone. And so it actually fulfilled part of the agenda that government had of 2020 and 2040 of expanding the financial inclusion of Ugandan citizens. By doing that, you are discouraging many people. Today, I'll tell you an example. Somebody asked me to send them money, I refused. Because when I computed the amount of money I was going to pay to just send 100,000 shillings, it doesn't make sense. So I said, okay, I'll find somebody who's coming by the bus or something, and I'll give it to them to come with the money. So, and I'm not the only one. There are many other people who are feeling the same thing. Mobile money, a business that had just emerged, you kill it in the bud. Because it was beginning to capture, most of the people who are running mobile shops are shutting down. Yeah? They don't have money on their phones, and so they're out of business. So you have increased now, you have worsened the unemployment problem, because you are saying you want to create jobs, reduce the unemployment, and you are shooting yourself in the foot by this very tax arrangement.
Yeah, if you talk about financial inclusion, you did tell us the danger, but there's another school of thought that banks are available. Do you think these kind of taxes would then force people to head back to the banks because mobile money had almost taken over the banks.
No, because for a long time we have had banks. What proportion of the citizenry was actually banking the banks? And by the way, that the culture of not banking money is not only among the poor, even among the rich. There are so many rich people who have safes in their houses. Why? Because putting your money in the bank is like giving away your money, because you're losing money in terms of bank charges, so many other charges, and so by the time you keep your money 5-10 years, plus the loss of value of money, so people prefer to keep money in other forms of investments than actually putting the money. So, and you have banking sector which is dominated by foreign entities who are basically siphoning out their profits. And so the domestic investment is limited. We also are running an economy which is heavily dependent on services that does not have the proportion of production vis-a-vis the services and vis-a-vis the imports. There is less production and there is more services. So our economy should be having more production, both in the agriculture and manufacturing, processing and whatever, to back up our economy. But we're having a service industry now, we're being called a border economy, right? And so you find that somebody is not doing the right mathematics.
How would you react to the president's directive to, the telecom companies to refund part of the money that, of course, was taken away when this tax was effected on the beginning of this month?
Well, it's an admission of an error. And, but that means if you're going to refund me the money, you have to compensate me for the pain. Meaning that if they are to do a just refund, that means you're going to pay more than what I actually put in. You know how courts operate. The damages for having disturbed our peace, of taking away our money in the wrong way. So it shouldn't have started in the first place. They should have given it more time rather than the rush that they had to actually come up with this OTT. And that's where we're asking ourselves, what was the motive behind this thing? Because 90 billion is being lost in terms of tax exemptions. That could be recovered. Tax exemptions that are not informed by evidence to justify whether the benefits of an exemption are less than or are more than having these guys pay taxes. So that's the analysis that needed to be done.
But is this whole thing of refund the money that was taken away even achievable by either telecom companies or probably even URA if the companies say
it's achievable because you have a number which transmitted money, the proportion that was deducted, so all you have to go back to the records if you have clean records and send back the money.
Most of us use mobile agents. Do we have to pile ourselves on mobile agents?
Now that's the lacuna they have to deal with, and that's where the money is going to be lost. Because those who didn't use their own mobile phones, the agents probably will be the ones to benefit by receiving that payback. And so the guy who actually lost the money, it's gone.
Are the projections from these two taxes achievable, whether deductions are made or not?
Well, you may achieve it to get the money out forcefully. But you see, you'll have caused a lot of pain to the citizenry. And you'll have decampaigned yourself anyway. Because I think the government should have the interest of the people at heart, and should also look at how whatever decisions they are making, how they are affecting the livelihoods of the masses. I'll give another example. We are focusing so much on FDD, foreign direct investments, and that day I was seeing the president, I think, made comments about some which were unfortunate in public about telecom companies not paying up their taxes. This is something that should have probably been done without exposing them in the public. We all know that companies do tax planning, to do tax avoidance. So you are spending your time inviting foreigners to come and invest, and then afterwards, when they fleece you, justifiably, because you want to make money, you scream. The idea should be focusing on domestic direct investment, where you create an avenue where your indigenous businesses are able to get capital cheaply and invest, so that the proportion of FDI investment vis-a-vis the DDI investment, you are probably having 70 to 30%. So that will keep the money inside. You also have a law that is allowing 100% repatriation of profits, plus on top of the tax, the monies that have been, using tax planning mechanisms, siphoned off the profits, plus all sorts of schemes that companies use to skim off money.
All right. I'll have to cut you short from there because our time is fast run out. But of course, thank you very much for joining us tonight. That's Henry Bazira, the Executive Director at Water Governance Institute, and a member of the Tax Justice Alliance. Yeah, that was Talk of the Nation tonight. We are taking a short break and we'll return with more. Stay tuned. Thanks.
Newsbite is brought to you by Safe Drive Uganda, improving road safety.
I'm told I've been having more than one stamp. You find the Defense Secretary has a stamp. So this time round,